The arena was packed with thousands of spectators from across the galaxy. Species of every kind filled the stone seats that rose high into the artificial sky. The Galactic Combat Tournament was the most watched event in known space. Warriors from 100 worlds came here to prove their worth. Champions were made in this arena. Legends were born here. Kale Silverwind stood at the edge of the fighting pit. His long silver hair was tied back in a warrior's knot. His pointed ears marked him as one of the Eldar, the ancient elven race that had walked among the stars for 10,000 years. His eyes were the color of winter storms, cold and calculating. He wore simple armor of enchanted silver metal that had been forged in the heart of a dying star. At his hip hung a curved blade that hummed with quiet power. He had won 17 matches in this tournament. Each victory had been swift and clean. His opponents had been skilled warriors from proud species. The Crothian berserkers had fallen to his blade. The Vexry assassins had been outmatched by his speed. Even the mechanical warriors of the Forge Collective had been cut down by his ancient techniques. Now only one match remained before he could claim the championship. The crowd grew silent as the announcer's voice boomed across the arena. The massive screens that floated above the pit displayed information about the upcoming fight. Kale watched without expression as his opponent's image appeared on the screens. General Threkos of the Dominion Empire walked into the arena from the opposite gate. He was a massive figure, standing nearly 8 feet tall. His body was covered in thick gray scales that had been enhanced with cybernetic implants. His forearms ended in clawed hands that could crush steel. A long tail swung behind him, tipped with a blade made from sharpened bone. He wore ceremonial armor that displayed dozens of medals and honors. Each medal represented a conquered world or a defeated enemy. Threkos was not just a warrior. He was the supreme military commander of the Dominion Empire. His species had conquered 200 star systems. They had enslaved billions of beings across the galaxy. Their military might was considered unstoppable. No one challenged the Dominion and lived to tell about it. The general stopped in the center of the arena and laughed. His voice was deep and terrible. It echoed off the stone walls and made some spectators cover their ears. He pointed one clawed finger at Kale. "So this is the famous Elven Blademaster?" Threkos said with obvious contempt. "I have watched your fights, little elf. You dance around your opponents like a frightened bird. You rely on tricks and speed because you lack true strength. You have never faced a warrior of the Dominion." Kale walked calmly toward the center of the arena. His footsteps made no sound on the sand-covered floor. He stopped 10 meters from Threkos and studied his opponent with patient eyes. The general was indeed impressive. His muscles were thick with enhanced tissue. His scales had been reinforced with nano-weave armor. The weapons built into his cybernetic arms included plasma projectors and molecular blades. "You have challenged me to single combat," Kale said quietly. His voice was soft, but it carried clearly across the silent arena. "That was your first mistake." Threkos laughed again. Several of his officers in the crowd joined in the laughter. The Dominion had brought an entire delegation to watch their general humiliate the Elven champion. They expected this fight to be a demonstration of Dominion superiority. "Mistake?" Threkos growled. "I have killed 10,000 enemies with my own hands. I have broken armies beneath my feet. I have torn warships apart with nothing but my claws. You are nothing but a relic of a dying race. The Eldar were once great, but now you hide on your forest worlds and pretend the galaxy does not exist. After I kill you, perhaps I will lead my fleet to your homeworld. Your people will make excellent slaves." The crowd stirred uncomfortably. Many species present had suffered under Dominion conquest. They watched with hidden hope, wondering if anyone could challenge the Empire's might. But most believed the outcome was already decided. Threkos was simply too powerful. Kale drew his blade. The sword seemed to come alive in his hand. Ancient runes along its surface began to glow with soft blue light. The The weapon had been forged 3,000 years ago by mastersmiths who understood secrets of metallurgy that had been lost to time. It had been carried by 17 Blademasters before Kale. Each had added their own skill and wisdom to the weapon's legacy. "You speak of strength," Kale said, "but you do not understand what true strength is. You believe power comes from size and weapons and conquered worlds. This is why empires like yours always fall." Thrakos roared and charged. His speed was shocking for a creature so large. The sand exploded beneath his feet as he crossed the distance between them. His forearms spread wide, each one preparing a different attack. The plasma projectors in his wrists powered up with a high-pitched whine. His tail swung forward like a scorpion's strike. Kale moved. To the spectators, it looked like the elf simply vanished. One moment he was standing in front of the charging general. The next moment he was behind him. There was a flash of blue light so brief that many thought they imagined it. Then Thrakos stumbled. The general tried to turn around, but his body did not respond properly. He looked down and saw that his tail was no longer attached to his body. It lay on the sand behind him, twitching and spraying dark blood. The cut had been so clean and so fast that he had not even felt it happen. "You are slow," Kale said from somewhere behind him, "and you telegraph your attacks. These are errors that a young student would make." Thrakos roared with fury and pain. He spun around and fired his plasma projectors. Twin beams of superheated energy tore through the air where the elf had been standing. But Kale was no longer there. He had moved again, sliding through space like smoke through an open door. The general felt something touch his back. It was the lightest pressure, almost gentle. Then the cybernetic implant in his spine stopped working. His two lower arms went limp. The weapon systems in his armor powered down. Kale had somehow disabled his enhancements with a single precise strike. "Your technology is impressive," Kale observed. He stood just beyond the reach of the general's remaining arms. "But you have become dependent on it. Without your implants, you are just a large creature with poor balance." Thrakos tried to attack again. His two functioning arms slashed at the elf with desperate speed. Kale parried each strike with minimal movement. The ancient blade sang as it met the general's claws. Sparks flew where metal met reinforced bone. To those watching, it looked like an adult playing with an angry child. "The Eldar have walked among the stars for 10,000 years, Kale said, as he continued to deflect the wild attacks. "We have seen empires rise and fall. We have watched species that thought themselves invincible become dust and memory. Your dominion is just another in a long line of would-be conquerors. You will fade like all the others." With one fluid motion, Kale stepped inside the general's guard. His blade moved 3 times in less than a heartbeat. Each cut was precise and deliberate. The first severed the tendons in both remaining arms. The second removed the general's ability to stand. The third stopped just short of cutting his throat. Thrakos fell to his knees in the sand. His arms hung uselessly at his sides. His legs would not support him. The greatest military commander in the Dominion Empire knelt helpless before an opponent half his size. The arena was completely silent. No one had ever seen anything like this. The fight had lasted less than 2 minutes. Thrakos had not landed a single blow. The Elven Blademaster had dismantled him with surgical precision. "You said I rely on tricks and speed," Kale said quietly. He kept his blade at the general's throat. "You were partially correct. Speed and technique are my weapons, but they are not tricks. They are the result of 800 years of training. Every day of my life has been dedicated to the mastery of the blade. Can you say the same about your conquest and your medals?" Thrakos tried to speak, but only blood came from his mouth. His regeneration systems were offline. His enhanced healing could not repair the damage that had been done to him. He looked up at the elf with eyes that held something they had never held before. Fear. "I could kill you now," Kale continued. "It would be easy and perhaps deserved. Your empire has caused suffering beyond measure. The blood of innocent worlds stains your hands. But death would be too quick, too merciful. He lowered his blade and stepped back. The runes on the sword dinned as combat ended. Kale looked up at the screens that displayed his face across the arena. General Thrakos of the Dominion Empire challenged me to single combat. He believed his size and weapons and reputation made him unbeatable. He was wrong. Let this serve as a reminder to all who would use strength to oppress the weak. There is always someone stronger. There is always someone faster. The blade of justice never dulls. He turned and walked away from the fallen general. The crowd erupted in cheers that shook the ancient stones of the arena. Species that had suffered under Dominion rule wept with joy. The sight of their oppressor brought low gave them hope for the first time in generations. Medical teams rushed onto the sand to collect what remained of General Thrakos. He would survive, but he would never fight again. His military career was over. His reputation was destroyed. He had sought glory and found only humiliation. Kale Silverwind left the arena without looking back. He had won the championship, but the trophy meant nothing to him. What mattered was the message that had been sent. The galaxy had seen the Dominion's finest warrior defeated in moments by a single Elven Blademaster. Seeds of rebellion would be planted in 100 conquered worlds. The Empire's subjects would remember this day. Sometimes, the greatest victories were not measured in bodies or conquered territory. Sometimes a single moment of witnessed weakness could bring down the mightiest empire. The Dominion had been built on fear. That fear had been broken in an arena before the eyes of the galaxy. And somewhere on a forest world at the edge of known space, the Eldar watched the broadcast and smiled. They had played the game of empires for longer than most species could remember. They knew that true power was not about domination. It was about precision, patience, and knowing exactly when to act. Their champion had struck at precisely the right moment in precisely the right place. The Dominion's fall had begun with a single blade and a single warrior who understood what strength truly meant.